Environmentalists are demanding a review or absolute repeal of the laws establishing the nation's Biosafety Management Agency Act of 2015. The call follows claims that the law is fundamentally flawed, has no defined clause for liability and redress, and lacks public participation during the making. They say the law may also encourage misconduct in biosafety regulation, as it permits promoters of biotechnology to also serve as regulators of the sector. There is also fear that allowing promoters of genetically modified organisms on the board of the regulatory agency could pose a conflict of interest that may be detrimental to the health and environmental safety of Nigerians.
That law, as presently constituted, is incapable of protecting our biodiversity, is incapable of protecting our agriculture, is incapable of protecting our food system, is incapable of defending us or making us safe in our conviction that we're eating things that are suitable for our health.
Our people are promoters of a technology and is being part of a regulatory agency. So how do you explain that you cannot have promoters? The NABMA is supposed, as conceived, is supposed to be an unbiased agency that looks at both sides. But you have GMOs, the agency populated with GMO promoters, so we don't think they'll be able to play an oversight function to protect our society.
It's important that these people are arbiters that are fair and are actually nationalistic in a certain sense, because you have to put your people's interests first, regardless of what corporation wants to come into the country, and push for them to behave in ways that will be beneficial for your people.
As the controversy surrounding the safety of genetically modified organisms rage, experts say government should also enforce laws that mandate labeling of products to give Nigerians the liberty to choose. And joining me now from our Abuja studio is Gmo Story, founder, Health of Mother Earth Foundation. Thanks for your time, Mr. Story.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Tell us first, what is GMO all about?
Well, genetic engineering is a modern way by which scientists select the certain genetic traits from the DNA of one particular organism that they want to use to create another organism that would express a certain characteristic. So it entails a transfer of genetic material from one organism to another. But it's not just within the same species, it can go across species. For example, you could take genetic material from a plant and insert in an animal. You could take genetic material for human beings and introduce it into a plant to achieve a certain expression that the scientist is looking for. But most of the genetically engineered crops in the world today are engineered for two purposes. One is for these crops to be able to withstand certain herbicides. So if you plant the crops, if you plant the seeds and they germinate, you can spray the chemical, the herbicide, across the whole farm, and every other plant except the crops they planted would die off. And that, then again, the other variety, the other predominant variety is the one that is engineered to be a pesticide by itself. So the plant would now grow, and if a particular pest known to be capable of attacking that plant or often attacking the plant goes to eat the plant, that pest would die. So the plant itself becomes a pesticide. But the problems with these two traits is that the crops that are genetically engineered to withstand the herbicides end up, especially the wheats, they end up being resistant to the chemicals. So now in the world today you have super wheats in some countries, and this require that farmers use stronger herbicides to be able to overcome those weeds. And of course the ones that are engineered to be pesticides themselves are not capable of destroying non-target pests. So you still need to use pesticide on the crops that were engineered to be pesticides. So in other words, the crops, genetic engineering, modern genetic engineering in crops are carried out in a way that would meet the expectations, the commercial expectations of the biotech industry who are producing the chemicals and who are producing the seeds. The interesting thing to know is that the industry begins with the best available natural seeds. But what you have with genetic engineering is unnatural products. But at the same time, the corporations insist that the crops they produce are natural, comparable to natural ones, while they seek to and retain patents, patent rights on life. All this is what genetic engineering is about business.
No doubt the GMO safety debate is on. It has been on for a long time, and public skepticism remains. But there are those scientists who have come out to say GMO crops or foods are safe, like the National Academy of Science in the US, but there are other scientists who have linked this to the prevalence of liver and kidney diseases, cancer, many other forms of birth defects. But so tell us, what are the health risks of GMOs? We hear you clearly about how you go from natural to being unnatural, but are there health implications to this?
There are several health implications, but let me just clarify. The American Academy of Sciences have produced a very voluminous report in which they stated both the risk and they stated both sides of the story. They stated some aspects in which GMOs could be useful, and they also stated the aspect that they could be dangerous. It's the Nigerian Academy of Sciences who have come out to say that there are no dangers at all with GMOs, which is rather curious. The American Academy of Sciences have studied extensively because that's where most of the GMOs in the world are planted. And they have given both sides of the story. In Nigeria, it's only one side of the story. Now, many of the tests that have been conducted on genetically engineered crops and organisms have been conducted on animals, laboratory animals, not on human beings. And we've seen, they've been shown in rats, for example, and in guinea pigs, that the GMOs, when these animals are fed on GMOs, they have impacts on their internal organs, their birth defects, their fertility problems, their growth problems. And, you know, we do know that if this is happening to rats in the laboratory, they would also happen to human beings, because the genetic makeup of these animals like rats and human beings are quite it can be used to illustrate what could happen in human beings. And the other reason that we are worried about genetic engineering in agriculture is that the pesticides and the herbicides plant spread on these crops have been shown clearly in Latin American countries to have very serious impacts on children, on women, on poor people who live close to these farms. And we've seen hormonal problems, in cancers, there are babies, young children who are beginning to appear to be mature, whereas they are not. Women having miscarriages, there are birth defects. And this has happened because of the impacts of the chemicals that they're exposed to, because they live close to the farm. The farmers who spray the chemicals are properly protected with special wares. But
let me just interject here because of our time very quickly. How can Nigerians protect themselves from GMOs? Because of our time, we have to make this very quickly.
Well, okay, the problem we have in Nigeria is that we have a law that ought to protect our people, protect our environment, protect our agricultural system, which is very permissive and would allow virtually any kind of application to bring GMOs into Nigeria to pass through it, because the law permits and the law does not protect the Nigerian people. There's no room for sufficient public and light public consultation. And, you know, the people who promote GMOs are the ones sitting on the board. And for the first 3 applications that have been brought before the agency that regulates GMOs, they were brought by one of the most notorious corporations in the world today in terms of biotechnology, which is Monsanto, and 2 of them in collaboration with the National Biotechnology Development Agency. And this agency is sitting on the board regulating biotechnology in Nigeria. And they are the same people who applied, approved, and allowed GMOs to be brought into this country.
Mr. Nimo Basu, thank you very much for your time on this topic. GMO, no doubt, it's raging, and we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Many thanks for your time on the news at 7.